So I finally made the perfect iteration of this multi-tool. I tightened it down, put Loctite on it, and I wanted to go through the specifics that I did, just in case if anyone wanted to either copy this or modify it in their own way. I just wanted to do a quick run through. It's two Leatherman multi-tools that I simply put together. As you can see, the Wave Plus and the Signal. I decided that I like the features both had separately, but I wanted one tool to carry, you know? So I really wanted the hammerhead of the Signal, because I found it's very useful if you just need something quick to hit down or, you know, realign, shit like that, you know what I mean? Just, it makes it very convenient to have. And the fact that there is another bit driver right here, that's the full size hex, I see it as a very good advantage because you could put really good torque down if you really needed to. So that, along with the carabiner and the fact that it's got a bottle opener, I mean, you know, that's better than anything that any of these Wave or, like, what was the other one? Oh man, you know, the TI version, none of them have a bottle opener that's readily accessible right outside like this. I think this and the Skeletal are the only ones that have something that's quick access like this. So, you know, if you pulled this out of your pocket and you needed to open something real quick, there you go. And I understand people use their keys, their teeth, for God's sakes, but you know, I want to be a little bit more classy about it, and this is the way to do it for me. Plus, I think it even holds the cap, so pretty cool. You know, you don't have to worry about picking it up or nothing. And another cool thing was the fact that there's a lock right here that the Signal has. So I wanted to retain that as much as I could, and luckily it works perfectly fine. There's no issue to have it, you know, work how it's intended to. And I was able to keep the pocket clip from the Wave, which in my opinion is a lot better than the Signal one. Nothing wrong with it. In fact, I have it right here, the crappy alternative to this one. Since this is the perfect multi-tool, here's the not so nice one, but there's gonna be a backup one that I'm gonna keep in my car. As you can see, the awl right here does not let the Wave close the way it needs to. So, you know, disappointing, of course, but like I said, this has become nothing more than just a spare, so it does not bother me at all. I did try to put this on the side of this one where I had the saw, but as I realized opposite sides, the grind that it has for the lock bar, it would not work. So I ditched that because I wanted to put the extra spacing, or I needed the extra thickness that this blade had to try to swap these little silver heads, security bit, screw, whatever, on this pivot. I wanted to switch this pivot, or this pivot, to one like this to just make it, you know, match, but it wasn't gonna work out. So that's why I retained it with the black one. But yeah, here's the alternative one that I'm not fond of, and this is the pocket clip I was talking about. See, it isn't bad by all means, like it works, but you see how much like more of the tool is gonna stick out. And with this one, I mean, it's gonna be pretty much the same because the hammer is there, but I'd much prefer that much of the hammer sticking out rather than just of this tool with nothing, you know, like just that being the end of the tool compared to it being a hammer like this that I can easily lock my finger in here and grab the whole tool out of securely. You know, say I'm hanging on a ladder or just somewhere in the air, or I'm holding something and I need pliers to clamp something down, you can do this all one-handed, and you know, that just helps you grab it. So in my opinion, it's been one of the best combos that I've ever had on a multi-tool. I was able to keep the Signal pliers, which were very important to me because they seem to be a lot more heavy duty than the regular Wave, and like I guess the rounder rounder plier heads, but with these, I've beat these up pretty well, and I have not had any issues in terms of the tip, you know, morphing or like not being able to grab. Like, I can still pull hairs off with this. And the most that like the hardest use that I've had to put these pliers through was on my old Yukon. I broke the rear glass hatch, so I had to replace that. And the way to replace those, there's these little locking rings on the ends of the pivot of where the glass is, like where it sits on top. And I use these to grab the clip, like the locking clip, and grab them out. And obviously it's kind of a pain if you don't have pliers, you know, to get those out. And this one was able to do it perfectly fine. It didn't mess with the tip at all. Like, these are pretty robust plier heads, a lot better than the regular waves. So that's the reason I swapped it. I mean, this waves pliers have not been an issue for me, and these I could also pull hairs out of if I needed to. It's just simply, I like these because I have put them through the tests, and, like, you know, they have not failed me. And I think with the black coating, it's gonna just help protect it even more from rust. So that was my reasoning for this plier head. Obviously, if you have the charge pliers with, you know, the little extra hole that they have here, that's pretty sweet if you want to go ahead and do that. But I think the charge is on a level above these two, considering the price and material, I guess. I do have a charge that I might eventually swap the blade on, just because it would be the S30V, which would be pretty sweet to have on this as a daily carry, you know what I mean? It's gonna be more premium than this 154 CM, you know? And it's gonna be a working multi-tool, like a work multi-tool, so having S30V is gonna be pretty sweet if I do that, which honestly I might tonight. No, I can't. No, I'd have to wait, because I did put Loctite on this. So one issue I do want to point out very specifically, if you are gonna do this, you're gonna have issues with the tools and accessibility. So you see right now how I'm able to smoothly open this and, you know, actuate it. The reason I'm able to do that is because I had put Loctite and adjusted these in a manner that they're not going to move, and, you know, it's just going to lock in place. So there's not going to be any issues further on, because let me show you. See how everything's easy to do one-handed? Yeah, right. See, no issue here. No what's it called, it's not getting caught up. If I really needed to, I could get everything one-handed. You know, it's great. But before I even put Loctite on it, when I wanted to be for sure that this is the setup I wanted to do on this, so the tip that I would say to do is have all these tools extended out, all of them locked out. And if you're gonna do this combo specifically, this saw is gonna be in the way of everything else. What's it called? In front of everything else, like right here, see? It's not gonna wanna lock out. So trick here is just to open the pliers a little bit, and then there you go, it locks up. So what I did was this, and then I locked these down like to where they were a nice tight snug fit, because if you don't, what I came to realize was, let me see if this one has the issue. Jesus Christ, you see how these aren't adjusted? Oh, you get cramps in your hand real quick with this one. But yeah, you can see how tight that is. I can't even open any of the tools. I can on this, but it's obviously loose. Probably. Can't tell. But since this one I have as tight as it can be, it's obviously going to be lined up. But if you have it too loose, these tools will be pushing up against the outer edge of the tool, and that's how you know you don't have it adjusted right. So if you have it centered like how this is right here, or how this one, let me see if I can close it. Ooh, I almost had it. Okay. So I adjusted these to where you see how they're centered in there. That's how you know you have it right. So if you have them centered like this, and then you open the pliers up, and you're gonna look for play. So you're gonna grab this end and this end with both hands, and check and see if there's play in between the pivots. If you don't feel any play right there, then you're pretty much set, because then at that point you just go back to how I had it, with all the tools sticking out and having them all locked out. And then once you do that, you're gonna let the Loctite set. So that's the way that I found to do this. Don't know if it's the right way, wrong way. And also, I had a quick update. I did end up putting the washer at the bottom, and then putting the tool, and then the screw. Before, I had it backwards. I even did an alternative setup where I had 2 washers in between, but it didn't help at all. In fact, the tools were misaligned. It was awful. This thing definitely works how they made them, you know what I mean? Just one washer on the bottom, then the tool, and then the screw on top. Once you use Loctite to lock these down, it's pretty much going to be like the washer. Like, it's going to act like the washer itself, so there's no need for 2. So that's something I had to learn. So I just want to pass on that little knowledge. The washer always goes at the bottom. And then, of course, once you let that Loctite settle down, after 10, I would give it 15-20 minutes to be safe. After that, you can mess around with your tool. You can see if this pivot will move. If you look closely, whenever you have it broken down before and you do anything, you're gonna see your pivot screws are gonna move along with the tools that you want to pull out. And that's how you know it's, well, the Loctite's broken, and you're gonna have to use Loctite. Otherwise, you're not gonna be able to use the tool right. So you can see that screw, it's not turning with it. It is locked down in place. This one's a little different. This one moves with the whole tool, but either way, it's still locked down, and it pivots on that washer. So this thing is a pretty good and smooth one-handed operation. You just have to do those fine little adjustments when it comes to tightening down the pivot, putting the Loctite down. And one thing that would really help is if you have a kind of oil lubricant. I use KPL knife pivot lube, and just the regular red one, because I use that to maintain all my knives. And I just put some on this in order to make it smoother. And in fact, these pliers were rusted at one point, so I ended up putting some oil in between the pliers, and now it works like it just when I first bought it. You know what I mean? Like, if you've ever had a Leatherman, if you've ever messed with the Leatherman, you'll know, like, these things are drop shut. You know what I mean? Like, this one's cool because it has a little bit of stick towards the bottom, so it won't, like, see right now it'll fall smoothly, but if I open them all the way, it sticks. Don't know why. I don't know if that's just how they're intended to break in, but I think it's pretty sweet. Like I said, it helps with one-handed operation. But this is my little spiel on how this became pretty much the best multi-tool that I carry every day. But I did have to switch out these little plastic attachments the Signal had, with these little 3D printed bits or pieces that you can put in. This one carries an extra bit in it. So as you can see, I can carry an extra bit in here, which is pretty sweet. And the reason, I really wanted to carry this Frankenstein, because I figured once I had these little 3D printed parts, It makes the signal more of an urban tool instead of a survival tool, like they like to advertise on it, which, I mean, it's great. Like, if you really need it for outdoors, the hammerhead really helps, but I would never personally just use it for a survival tool, or at least outdoors. It's more of an urban tool still, in my opinion. Like, you know, you can do wiring jobs and stuff with this, small mechanic jobs. They're perfect for them. But let me see, what else did I want to say? Pretty much this is my combo for the perfect multi-tool as of now. I do later on want to put Victorinox scissors on here to swap out the saw, but as of right now the saw is pretty good, like where it is now. I don't have any complaints. I do hate that there's no scissors obviously in here. I only have the bit driver and the can opener, but with this can opener, you know, there's plenty of uses for it. It's still sharp enough to where if you need to stab a hole through something, you can. It's got the bottle opener, or can opener of course, and then it's got this little wire stripper at the bottom. It's more useful than just the awl that this one has, so I decided not to swap it in. And for the other little part that was 3D printed, here you go on the signal. It's a little two-piece that I ordered online. I believe it was either Zap Wizard or somewhere along those lines. But see, this one is a sliding bit holder. Not bad. Obviously this one broke on me, so if you want to find a different design, I'd say do that, because right here it chipped on the side. It still has more than enough friction in here to hold the bit, but it's not confidence inspiring. So just another reason why I gave up on carrying the signal, at least until now. But this Frankenstein, it's obviously perfect to me. So I hope all this info that I was able to spit out there was helpful to anybody, either that was just taking apart a wave or a signal, any of these tools. If you want to take it apart and put it back together, I gave you these little tips with the washer and how to adjust it and, you know, put Loctite on it. If you don't have Loctite and you break these loose, then, you know, you're gonna just have a bad time, because that's the little magic trick to these tools that I had to figure out, because before that this one doesn't have the Loctite at all, and it's obviously too tight. But as you can see, I can't even operate that thing one-handed compared to this one. Loctite adjusted perfectly. You can see how smooth it is. So that's the little trick to these, the Loctite, having the washer at the bottom. And then obviously with this one, if you want to copy this template, it'll all work out. This little lock works just fine, so it won't open. Use the hammer feature, signal pliers, you know, robust, nice and tough. You got this little can opener, bottle opener, whatever out here, and the hex driver. So, and you get to keep this pocket clip, which is a pretty sweet advantage in my opinion compared to the other one, obviously. So hope this helps anyone out there trying to do a little Frankenstein like this. I saw this online with a different picture, and I really wanted to copy it because I always wanted, you know, different features from different Leathermans all in one tool. And for the most part, this, I would say, has everything that you would need, even the file, which is pretty sweet. So, you know, if you like this little setup and you want to have the confidence to do it, I gave you the small little tips to be able to pull this off and actually have it work for you. You know what I mean? The most important thing I want to say is just the Loctite. If you do the Loctite and you put all these tools locked out, you know, lock these tools all the way out, all of them. Tighten this down nice and snug with the Loctite already in place. And then you're going to close them back down. And then you open back up the pliers. And then once you open up the pliers, you're going to see if there's any play in between the pivot and the tools. You know, you're going to see if there's any play right there. If there's no play and the tools are lined up nice and centered, your job is done. You just let that Loctite sit there, and then your tool just 15-20 minutes, let it bake, and it's perfect. Jesus. But yeah, you can have a little Frankenstein tool of your own. Don't be afraid to try these out if you have a Leatherman, you know, because you'll find out they're pretty modular, at least for the most part. You know, keep the tools of the same side on each side if you want to be very specific about it. But yeah, if you just even want to color swap, if you have black with silver and you want to do that, go ahead. But yeah, just wanted to do a quick run through of my perfect Frankenstein build, and now my spare one that I have here. Spare tools, spare washers, you know what I mean? So hope I can pass the info on to anybody.